Hello, everybody, and welcome to Finding Your Innergator podcast, where we talk about discipline, relationships, and the habits that release the greatness that is already inside of you. I'm your host, Wright, and I am so glad that you're here. In each episode, we'll explore powerful lessons, real-life stories, and practical strategies to help you live intentionally, build meaningful relationships, and unlock your full potential. But greatness isn't something you stumble into. It's something that is built every single day. So let's get started and begin the journey to finding your Innergator. Hello, everybody. This is Wright. You are listening to Finding Your Innergator. And if I haven't told you, I am so glad that you're here. I'm going to start a little bit different today. I want to tell you a quick story. And this story is probably about 18 months old. My wife, Jennifer, she teaches me stuff every now and then. Probably more than I admit, but she teaches me stuff now and then. And one day she said something that really stuck to me, and I think it really deals with what we're talking about today. It's Thursday afternoon, late afternoon. I've got a tournament starting the next day, a King tournament. I'm in my shop getting my gear together, checking all my rods. The team was coming by a little bit later that night, but I was out there just kind of doing some things, and I'm looking. I was a little distraught, and I'll tell you why. Is that I told you I take these tournaments seriously, right? And we've talked about tracking, we've talked about all these things, but the problem was I could not. The fish were not where they normally were, right? And everything I've been doing, everything that I've been talking to others about, I just locating the fish because of water temps, bait pods coming in. It was difficult. It was difficult. So I'm sitting there thinking it's just not coming together the way I wanted it to. I was having some trouble finding bait. I mean, it's just nothing seemed to be going right, and I was in a bad headspace. I knew that in order for me to even come close to accomplishing what I was going to need to accomplish, I would have no choice but to get out of my comfort zone, right? I was going to have to fish structure I wasn't familiar with. I was going to have to go to places that I'm not as familiar with. I may even have to pull stuff in my spread that I'm not accustomed to pulling. What typically was going to work was not going to work in this tournament. So Jennifer and I were I think we're going to pick up some to-go food somewhere, Shakatak or something, and she was going to ride with me, and she walked outside, and we got in the truck, and she looked at me, she goes, "What's going on?" And I just said, "Things aren't going the way I want them to, babe. I know there's some things I got to try, I got to do." I went to more detail with her, and I'm going to go with you right now, but I just remember saying, bottom line is, it's outside my comfort zone. She looked right at me, and she said something that stuck with me and hit me like a ton of bricks. She said, "Babe, you can never be committed to your goals and your comfort zone at the same time. You can never be committed to your goals and your comfort zone at the same time." Oh my God, that stuck with me, right? Because the truth is, most of the regrowth that we want in our lives, everything that you're trying to accomplish, lives right outside of that comfort zone. And that's exactly what we got to have the conversation today on the mind. You see, everything starts with your mind, your beliefs, your perspective, your ability to stay focused when things get difficult. Your mindset determines how you handle challenges, setbacks, opportunities. Look, I'm gonna deviate just a second, and I've got a E plus R equals O. And I'm going to share a story. Some of you know it. I'm going to share a story with you on this one day. Time's sake today, I don't know if it's the right thing to do, but I'll think about it. I may end up coming back to it. But E plus R equals O. Your event, what is happening, plus how you respond determines your outcome. It helps determine that outcome. So your mindset helps determine how you handle those challenges. E plus R equals O. Your mind determines how you handle your challenges, your setbacks, your opportunities. If you're thinking negative, if you're constantly doubting yourself, if you're focused on the problem and the challenge versus what the solution is, I promise you, you're fighting a battle that you're never going to win. Your mind has to be strong. Put it this way, the brain is constantly creating patterns, right? Every thought you repeat, every belief you reinforce, every conversation that you have with yourself, it builds those patterns and strengthens those patterns, right? And over time, those patterns, they become your default thinking. You know, you talk about the half full, half empty people. This is why some people automatically see the opportunity while others will see a challenge. Their minds have simply been programmed differently, right? And here's the important part. Your mind can be programmed intentionally. Here's something powerful I want you to understand is that your brain, your mind cannot possess a positive thought and a negative thought at the very same time. One's going to win. If you are focused on fear, if you're focused on a negative outcome, you cannot be simultaneously be focused on the opportunity. If you're focused on the problems, you cannot at the same time be focused on solutions, which means the real questions become, what are you choosing to focus on? You guessed it. Because what you focus on, ladies and gentlemen, is going to expand. Let's go back to the programming, right? Let's go back to the programming. I said to you, your mind can be programmed intentionally. One of the most powerful ways to program your mind is through reading. You know, I love Grant Cardone. Y'all know that. And a few years back, I either read something he had written or heard a quote that he said that if you want to have a 1 to 52 advantage, a 52 to 1 advantage over your competition, read a book a week. And that's because the average person after high school will start a book a year. Most of the time people don't finish it, right? Most of the time they don't finish it. I can tell you, I don't run a 52 to 1, but I do run about a 26 to 1. I read a lot. I cheat. I use Audible. I do have a lot of hard copy books. I got several from my buddy Zam Monroe that he's written. I read Grant Cardone, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, Brandon Burchard. I got one I read, and it's funny. I was in a meeting and this came up. The message in the book, not the book, but it was called "Go for No," right? I mean, that's completely opposite of how most people program themselves. The point being, when you're reading, you're learning from people who've already walked this path ahead of you. You're learning from their mistakes, their lessons, their thinking. They didn't just wake up one day and say, oh my gosh, I'm a genius. I'm going to pin this out so everybody can see how to do it. What they're actually saying is, oh my gosh, I've been down this path. Let me show you an easy way to do it. When I say easy, what I should have said is easier. It's going to take work. It's going to take action. When you read consistently, ladies and gentlemen, you are literally rewriting the programming in your brain. You're reprogramming your brain. You know, another major influence is the people you surround yourself with. You've heard it before, and it's true. You've heard me say it 1,000 times. You become like the people you spend most of the time with. If the people around you are negative, complaining, and settling for average, that mindset will influence you. But if the people you're around are positive, disciplined, and growth-oriented, that mindset's going to elevate you. When you You have to make the conscientious decision. If you go to the break room and you're sitting around the water cooler, if you're maybe this is more appropriate, if you're on a Teams call and somebody stays on afterwards and they're constantly just complaining and griping about everything, separate yourself from that. Because what you don't realize is you're allowing that virus to get into your program. You've got to have an antivirus mindset, right? That just hit me. You got to have an antivirus mindset because you are a result of the people that you associate with. That's how you program yourself. Let's talk about something else that holds a lot of people back. The mind's powerful, isn't it? It's powerful. One of the things that holds a lot of people back is negative self-talk. This is a conversation you have with you, right? Sometimes it sounds like, I can't do that. Oh, man, that's too big. I am not ready for that. I am not good enough. But here's the problem. The brain begins to believe whatever you repeat. If you're constantly speaking negativity in your own mind, your brain eventually accepts that it's fact, that it's truth. You have to challenge those thoughts. You have to replace those thoughts. You have to redirect those thoughts because the words you speak to yourself, they shape the person you become. I would be lying to you if I said I haven't talked myself out of Innergator 1,000 times. RB, who's going to want to listen to Innergator? Innergator? That sounds so stupid, right? What is that? People are going to think you're crazy, dude. They're going to think you're crazy. Finally, I had to have the conversation with myself. I said, you know what? This system, these pillars, they help me. They help me get my head where it needs to be. This may not be for everybody, and that's okay. But if there's one person, two person, three person, four, that it can benefit and can shape the way that their life goes and helps them change the trajectory of their life, you got to do it. Dude, you can do this. You can do this. Put yourself out there. I had to have that conversation with me. So when I'm telling you this, I'm not telling you stuff just to sound smart. I'm telling you, I've lived this. Still do sometimes. I live this. I was at a executive health exam I had to go to. And part of it was the mental aspect, right? And they gave me a breathing exercise to do. And I got to tell you, those of you that know me, the Gator ain't never been a big fan of yoga and stuff like that. My wife has, but I just I never really understood it. However, I started calling this the Innergator mind reset, right? I think it's something practical. I had to start doing this when my mind gets negative, right? Before I'd walk on stage to talk to a group of people, I have 1,000 thoughts running through my head. I would have to reset. I'd do the breathing exercise. I actually would hold my hands right down beside me and shake them where it was triggering a reset. This exercise takes about 90 seconds. Step one, I just want you to pause and breathe. Just stop. Breathe through your nose. Hold it, right? Hold it. Then release. Slowly. Do that 3 times. Breathe through your nose. Inhale. Hold it for a second or two, 6 seconds, and release. This helps reset your nervous system. And step 2 is you have to identify that negative thought. You got to ask yourself, what thought is running through my mind right now? Maybe it's doubt, maybe it's fear, maybe it's frustration. And then step 3, intention, guys, intention. Replace it intentionally. Remember what we said earlier. You cannot possess a positive and a negative thought at the very same time. So replace that negative thought with the right one, the positive thought, the better one. Instead of saying, I can't do this, say, I haven't figured it out yet, but I will. Instead of saying it's too hard, say, that challenge is going to make me stronger. This simple reset changes the direction of your thinking. And when you change your thinking, you change your actions. You know, I said to you a while ago that E plus R equals O. And I was getting ready to start to close this out. But I want to go back and share it. Honestly, guys, this is one of those moments, it's a story that just hit me. So my daughter, Jillian, was a student at East Carolina University. Her junior year on a Thursday night, actually it had been about Friday morning, about 2 o'clock. This was during COVID. Phone rang. And as a parent of 3 daughters that are college age at the time, you either think they got into something they didn't need to get into and they don't realize they're calling me, which you would rather it be than it be the hospital sharing with you that your daughter has severe burns. She was at a kind of a pep rally type party. There was a big pallet-induced bonfire. And she was standing in front of it, and guys would kind of dip the ladies for a picture with the fire being the backdrop. The young man that went to dip her for the picture tripped, slipped, and Jill fell right into the fire. Severely burned from her knees to her elbows. Clothes were sticking to her. They had to scrub her, the dead skin, the burnt skin off. Jennifer and I drove a couple hours from Topsail from Fayetteville at the time to Greenville, North Carolina. I couldn't go in. She had to go in. In this process of scrubbing, they had to repeat over the next couple of days. I remember having a conversation with her via FaceTime. And all I said to her is, babe, you know I love you. Right now, I want you to cry like you've never cried before. I want you to be angry. But do that today, tomorrow, Sunday. But Monday morning, I need you, when you wake up, to understand that E plus R equals O. You got to get your head right. You got to get your mind right. The event and how you respond is going to help to determine your outcome. Now, on the event, there's nothing you can do to change the fact the event happened. Nothing. All you can control is how you respond to that event. And I guarantee you that's going to help with the outcome. She cried all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and I knew when I reached out to her Monday morning, she was going to be crying. However, what I heard was, hey, you know what? I'm glad this happened to me and not my friends. They couldn't handle it the way that I handled it. Technology is pretty cool today. She healed pretty good, still has some scars. But she went on to become a very successful and popular TikTok influencer. Ended up moving to New York City. I didn't have to underwrite that. She did that herself. Graduated college, worked at the marina, rocked a bikini, and learned from that. You see, the crazy thing about that incident is I know people that whether they're 21, 22 years old or 51, 52 years old. They would not have, if they responded, woe is me, my life will never be the same. People are going to look at me and see scars or things along that line. They would have felt sorry for themselves and never, ever truly got over it. She turned around and used the event to help other people. She used the event to say, these scars tell my story. And she shared her story, and she went on to her own form of greatness. The mind is incredibly powerful. Your event may not be that drastic, right? Your event may not be that. However, whatever your event is, whether it's a challenge or an opportunity, how you respond is going to determine the outcome. And I'm telling you right now, you've got to program your mind to be prepared for when that happens. Inside every person listening to this podcast, there is greatness. I tell you every time that's the case. That greatness, I call it your innergator, not greater, your innergator. But greatness doesn't grow by accident, guys. It grows when you train your mind, when you challenge negative thinking, when you surround yourself with the right people, when you step outside of your comfort zone. Your mind is the command center of your life. My challenge for you this week is to read something that expands your thinking. Spend time with someone who pushes you to grow. And the next time negative self-talk shows up, and it may be at the end of this podcast, it may be the next 20 minutes, it may be Wednesday, right? Whenever it shows up, I want you to use that Innergator mind reset. Breathe in, breathe out. Ask yourself what you're thinking about. What do you got to replace it with? Because the mind you build today, remember this, the mind you build today, that determines the life you live tomorrow. I hope this helped. Next week, we're going to move into the second pillar of the Innergator mindset, and that's health. Because your mind sets the direction, but your body provides the energy. I hope you have a great week. I hope you enjoy this, and I look forward to connecting with you again next Monday. Thanks, guys. Everybody, thank you so much for listening to the Finding Your Innergator podcast. You know, if today's episode helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Remember, greatness is achieved through discipline, intentional action, and optimizing the relationships around you. I look forward to getting with you next week. Now, go Gatorize your day.